Warning, this program is entirely fictional and made by a sole Canadian man. All characters and events in the show, including the host, even those that are based on real people, are entirely fictional. The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
America, the land of the free, home of the brave, and the stupid, and the criminally insane.
The United States has seen its fair share of gangbangers, mobsters, and psychotics who've roamed our beloved streets, causing untold chaos, destruction, and corruption. Tonight, on Grand Theft Auto Biographies.
Crime, honor, and tradition. These are but some of the threads which held together the mishmash of Asian American gangs across Liberty City, collectively called the Triads. Today we will examine the story of one triad who came to the United States seeking only closure, booze, and hookers, but was instead greeted by the violence his family cultivated across multiple nations through its numerous criminal dealings. We will follow this tale of mystery, betrayal, and succession from the gritty streets of Cerveza Heights to the artificial cultural touchstones of Algonquin's Chinatown as a veritable coup d'etat threatened to upheave one of Liberty City's most dangerous criminal organizations, and the man who crawled his way through rivers of blood to learn the truth and take his revenge. Huang Lee.
If you enjoy this series and want to support it, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/GuinnessWalker, where you can get access to all of the music made for the series in a high-quality format, downloadable ad-free versions of every episode, and a shout-out at the end of each episode produced while you're pledged. This series aims to cover nearly every character from the GTA series and its related properties, so if you're a fan of this content, please consider supporting if you can. If you can't afford to or don't wish to help out financially, consider dropping a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing to help the show continue growing and appease the ominous algorithm gods. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to ensure you see all uploads as soon as they release. If you want to contact me personally or just hang out and talk GTA, consider joining my public community Discord, and if you have experience organizing servers, please drop me a DM, as I am a complete boomer and I need your help to really grow the server. Whatever you choose, thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the episode.
Very little is known about Lee's early life, but what is known is that he lived a majority of his life in Hong Kong, where he likely learned both English and Chinese.
As the son of a powerful triad boss back in Kowloon,
Huang lived a life of relative luxury whilst holding onto his family's treasured sword, Jian. It isn't known if whilst living in China, Lee was already active in criminal activity, as his criminal record from the East, if it exists, could not be obtained by our GTAB investigative team. The real story of Huang Lee begins with his arrival to the worst place in America, Liberty City, in 2009, when his father is killed under suspicious circumstances, prompting him to return to the States and present his family's sword to the new patriarch following his father's death, Wu Lee, otherwise known as Kenny. Lee, thanks to his wealthy lifestyle back in Hong Kong, would fly into Liberty City on a private jet to Francis International Airport. However, his initial greeting would not be a pleasant one by any means. Almost immediately after touchdown, as Huang was meeting with his uncle's band, they would be ambushed by unknown assailants, and Huang would be grazed on the head by a bullet, knocking him unconscious. His attackers, presuming him dead, would load Lee into their vehicle and proceed to try dumping his body into the Humboldt River, but Lee, who had regained consciousness mid-drive, would manage to free himself from the sinking car and swim his way to the shore in Boabo, where he collected his thoughts before making his way to his uncle's business in Cerveza Heights. Upon meeting with his uncle Wu Kenny Lee, Huang would inform him of the loss of Jian, presumably stolen in the attack, and confess his frustration with a less than friendly reintroduction to Liberty City.
Huang, I'd heard you'd been killed. Thank all that is good that you're alive. What happened?
I was hoping for a couple of strippers and a VIP table in a club. Instead, I was ambushed, robbed, and left for dead. Uncle, not much of a welcome.
Just like your father. A playboy, not a worker. These are dangerous times, Huang. But we will find and deal with these killers. Do you have the sword? Do you have Jian?
I think the murderers took it. Either that or your useless bodyguards.
Don't get snotty with me, you little brat. I'd promised Jian as a gift to our leader, Jaoming. It would have gained me great favor with him. perhaps even sealing my position as his replacement when he steps down. Its loss will irreparably damage my standing. My honor is besmirched.
Besmirched? Uncle, it's 2009, not 1403. And you're going to give the sword away. But it's been in the family for generations.
Don't give me that bullshit. Your father won that thing in a card game. As a gift to Jian, it would have made me the triad boss here in Liberty City. Huang, your father was a good man, but he's dead now. And that put me in charge. I have to do what is best for the family, even if it goes against our traditions and my desires. I have arranged an apartment for you. Rest here for a while. We'll speak again soon. Once we have both calmed down, grief can be very unsettling.
So can being shot in the head and nearly drowned.
Kenny would be initially furious with the loss of the sword, having intended to present it as a gift to the Triad leader to improve his odds of being chosen to succeed the aging patriarch as head of the Liberty City Triads. After vowing to find and kill the man who murdered his father, Huang would begin a criminal crusade to find the guilty parties with support from his uncle. Given a place to stay in Cerveza Heights and the title of underboss to Kenny, Lee would meet with and train under Lee family master-at-arms Ling Shan, one of Kenny's top spies and Triad operators, in order to sharpen his criminal talents in preparation for his mission of vengeance.
What the fuck are you doing in Kenny's car?
I'm his nephew, Huang Lee. Who the fuck are you?
Oh, you're the rich prick from Hong Kong who lost the sword. Nice one.
And I thought Americans didn't understand sarcasm. Nice haircut.
Yeah, funny. I'm Ling Shan. I'm all that's left of Kenny's spies. We got jumped by the pigs.
Do you mean those pigs?
Shit! Get us out of here alive, Huang, and I'll marry you. Yes, I know about sarcasm.
Despite attempting to unsuccessfully court Ling's sexual interest, the two would begin a brief friendship, before tragedy would strike again in another casualty of the growing Chinatown wars. During an encounter behind Kenny's restaurant, a thug would manage to outdraw the master-at-arms, resulting in her untimely death. Shocked and once again reminded of the ever-present threat of crime in Liberty City, and Chinatown especially, Huang would avenge his new friend's death and gun down the men threatening Lee family assets.
Ling! What the fuck?
With his loyalty and effectiveness proven, Kenny would begin to entrust Lee with further responsibilities for the family, having him assist the son of aging Triad boss Jaoming, and eventually directly working in Kenny's primary area of expertise as a crime lord, the sale of illicit drugs. Huang would become a prolific and well-known dealer working under Kenny in a very short time, building connections in his growing search for the culprits responsible for his father's savage murder. Kenny would instruct Huang to save $5,000 in order to help pay for a warehouse for stashing their family's product, and in the meantime, Huang would continue his personal pursuit of locating the traitor among the Triads. In 2009, the head of all Triads operating in Liberty City was a man by the name of Jaoming, an elderly first-generation Chinese immigrant who had been running the Triads for presumably many years at the time of Huang's arrival. Kenny, as the head of one of the many Triad families, would be asked shortly after Huang's arrival and the loss of Jian to work for Shin's son, Jaoming, which Kenny took as a great insult, seeing as Chan was a heavily favored contender for replacing his father. However, Huang viewed working for Chan as an opportunity for Kenny to re-ingratiate himself to Shin, and would begin assisting Chan in his efforts to maintain a good standing with the Triad family, the Tongs, who held a great deal of influence in the choosing of the Triad's next leader. Under Chan, Huang would be tasked with ensuring Yaoming's victory in a street race against Irish mobsters in an effort to impress the Tongs. Huang would first sabotage the best racer's vehicle to cripple the odds of beating Chan, and then later directly interfere with the race in order to secure Chan's win by ramming the other racers off the road. Upon discovering Chan's cheating, however, the mobsters would successfully kidnap the Triad underboss and take him to the docks in Boabo, where Huang just barely manages to save the cowardly fraudster and return him to his penthouse, where Chan blamed the entire incident on Huang's involvement in Chan's winning of the race.
What will the Tongs think of me now? Kidnapped my own car! Again! This is all your fault, Huang!
My fault? Give me a break, you moron.
That thing took me because you knocked the drive out of that stupid street race!
But you told me to. Or is your brain so small you can't remember back that far?
Oh, you egomaniac with your long memory! Get some help! Get some therapy, you narcissist! I could have been killed! Oh, God! I need to change my pants. Somebody take me back to my penthouse!
For Chan, Huang would also, albeit with extreme levels of sarcasm, work for journalist Melanie Mallard, who struck a deal with the easily swooned and socially inept Chan to allow her to film some of the Triad's exploits around Liberty City. While Chan hoped that becoming a celebrity would somehow further impress the Tongs, Mallard was looking to film the most raw and violent sides of life on the streets of Liberty in an effort to land a big break and move up in the food chain of street reporters. Huang would also allow Melanie to film a drug deal with the Yardies of Schottler, the attack of a Yardi-controlled drug factory which Huang proceeded to nearly burn down with a flamethrower, and the distribution of free drug samples along with the ensuing frenzy and chaos which followed it. It was around this time that Huang was contacted by another prominent Triad operator with a large following supporting his claim to being the new boss, Jaoming, owner of Broker Bar, the Ming Inn, as well as a club in East Island City, among other suspected criminal businesses. Seeing Chan as too stupid to be the Triad's next leader, Zhou would employ Huang, whose reputation was rising rapidly, to instead help him become the Triad's next boss by shoring up Zhou's business interests for the family and protecting Shin's assets in Zhou's name. Huang would help Zhou steal product for his distribution network, as well as at one point directly assist Zhou in a personal quest of vengeance of his own by retrieving former Ming family triad Uri for Zhou to deal with personally.
Back so soon? You must be eager to help me make the new boss.
I know when to back a winner.
Me too. Which is why I always back myself. In business, pleasure, wrestling, sex, you name it, I'm a winner.
I'm going to take your word for it on some of those.
Listen, I have an old friend being flown to the city on medical release.
Medical release?
He's a con, but not for much longer. You're going to free him and bring him here. His planes are landed, so be quick getting to the airport. My old friend, I bet you thought you'd never see me again.
Zhou, I meant to stay in touch.
You owe me a pound of flesh, Uri, remember? And I fully intend to get the heart of the matter.
If you wanted him dead, why didn't you tell me?
What's the matter, Huang? Am I being heartless? I can quickly remedy that. Now, we've killed together. You and I are friends, Huang. Blood brothers. Don't be a stranger.
Whilst working for both Chan and Zhou, Kenny would also have Huang investigate a possible lead on his father's murderers in the Spanish lords, whom Kenny claimed may have been responsible for the theft of Jian. But upon intercepting the supposed thieves' van, Huang would find neither his family's sword or any further clues connecting the Spanish lords to his kidnapping or his father's death. Eventually, Huang would take on a job as a bodyguard for Chan Yaoming in a drug deal with the Spanish lords, and despite successfully protecting Chan when the deal goes south, the group would be cornered by the LCPD shortly after arriving at the Linen Lounge, and Chan would be arrested. Huang likely would have been arrested too. However, the commanding officer on the arrest, undercover detective Wade Heston, would instead recruit Huang into helping the crooked cop escape persecution for his own crimes, with the promise of discovering the truth about his father's murderer, which Heston had been investigating since Huang's arrival.
Those assholes set me up! I just can't believe it! If the Tongs find out about this, I'm going to be a laughingstock. It's the cops!
Freeze! Huang Lee, Mr. Junior Triad of the Year. We've been watching you, little man. You've certainly been enjoying yourself in our fair city.
Let's be honest, it's not as much fun as it used to be. Book me or shoot me. Don't bore me.
Oh, I'd happily shoot you, you little prick. But my guess is, until you've found your uncle's sword and your father's killer, you don't want to get shot. That's right, Huang. I know all about the ambush, and I'm real interested in the guys that did it. I've been on their tails for a long time.
Sorry, can't help you. Don't speak much English.
Let's not waste each other's time. We both know you're gonna work for me.
Work? For a cop?
Cop? Don't patronize me. I'm an undercover detective. Wade Heston's the name. You and I ain't all that different, Huang. We're both businessmen, looking to turn a profit. You do it your way, I do it mine. Do as you're told, and we'll both profit from this. I'm part of the criminal process. I'll be in touch.
Huang would be forced to help Heston, who had a debilitating drug problem, to frame a member of a Korean gang whom Heston had cause to believe were involved in Jian's theft. Despite initial reservations in acting against the Koreans, whom Huang knew had been ostensibly loyal for many years, Lee would eventually relent and set up the Korean to be arrested. While Huang would manage to frame the Korean, he would make bail soon afterwards, forcing Huang to tail the gangster on his path to each of the Korean underbosses, whom Lee systematically eliminated before killing the lone gangster as well. With the IAD closing in on him, Heston would become increasingly desperate to get a big bust, capable of impressing his superiors enough to cease their investigations, and in that vein would have Huang assist him in sneaking into a Korean base by distracting the gangsters, while Heston broke in and planted a bug inside. After successfully tapping the building, Heston would learn of a mysterious group called the Wansu Assassins, whose leader he concluded must be responsible for killing Huang's father and stealing his ancestral sword. This suspicion is later confirmed with all but absolute certainty when shortly afterwards, Heston is kidnapped by the Wansu, forcing Huang to rescue the undercover detective, which results in the death of both the assassin and their strongest lead.
Oh, it's you. Let's be blunt for a minute. The situation is intolerable. The feds are clamping down on all my businesses. Land of opportunity, my ass. I'd been better off bribing officials in Sichuan than putting up with this bullshit. And worse, they're constantly one step ahead of us. We must have a guy with a big mouth in our midst. I have sworn before the heads of all the tongs, we will find this traitor and he will be shown no mercy.
I heard Chan was arrested too.
Fuck Chan. He could do with a bit of discipline anyway. His mother failed him terribly. I've got a far bigger issue than that. Some men of mine have been cornered while carrying a large quantity of very dirty money, which we were about to export so it could get laundered. Make sure that money gets out of the country.
Huang would continue working for Chan and Zhou, as well as begin directly working under Jaoming for a time. At first, having him take revenge against the ambushers who attacked Chan's last steal, rescuing some of Shin's men sitting on a bunch of dirty money when they are cornered by the FIB, and later killing a member of Chan's entourage who was found to be an FIB informant planning to testify against Jaoming when Chan was released on bail. Following Chan's release, Huang would also return to working for him, with Chan tasking Lee with the elimination of incriminating evidence being investigated by the FIB. After disposing of Chan's counterfeit goods, however, things would only become more dangerous for the junior Jaoming when it was discovered that Melanie Mallard, who'd secured a position at Channel 15 using the footage that Huang had helped her obtain, planned to air the footage she had on both Huang and Chan with full disclosure of their identities. Whilst Huang would initially suggest simply storming the Channel 15 studio, destroying the tapes in question and killing Melanie, Chan, who had developed an attraction to Mallard, hesitated, instead asking Huang to kidnap Mallard from Studio 15 and deliver her to a dock compound in Hove Beach. Mallard would plead with Chan for her life and attempt to blame everything on Huang. However, Chan would eventually feign releasing her, only to shoot her dead in the back of the head as she attempted to leave, leaving Chan heartbroken and Huang in complete shock. With Mallard dead and one of Chan's entourage having been discovered as an informant, a distraught and fearful Chan would then order Huang to assist him in eliminating all of his remaining former allies. Chan would fly Huang to Happiness Island, where using makeshift Molotov cocktails, Lee would torch Yaoming's entourage and eliminate any remaining ties to Chan's former friends. During this time, Huang would also continue to work for Jaoming, whom Huang likely supported more wholeheartedly for the position of the next Triad boss. He would burn down the supplies at a construction site seized by the Irish Mafia after they took over the spot from the Korean Midtown gangsters, and help Zhou escape a bank robbery successfully by posing as dancers inside of a dragon costume at the Chinatown festival happening the same night. He would also protect Zhou en route to a private meeting with the other high-level Triads discussing the Triad leadership succession as paparazzi swarmed the stylish and popular Triad club owner. Around this time, Huang would also be contacted once again by Wade Heston, who claimed to still be investigating the Wansu assassins, but required more help from Huang in order to avoid arrest himself due to his crippling addiction to numerous street drugs. After killing Heston's drug dealer planning to spill the beans about Wade to the IAD, Heston would claim to discover that his colleague knew the FIB informant posing as a Triad, and they would tell Heston if Huang attacked one of Jaoming's contraband boats, which Huang successfully does with a great deal of hesitation, knowing that if he were to be found responsible, it would likely mean his death. After successfully sinking the boat, Huang would retrieve the contraband for Zhou, who remained oblivious to Huang's involvement, and later do a final job for Heston's FIB contact by destroying scramblers interfering with his illegal wiretaps. For Huang, it would now be a waiting game, and that really wasn't the Huang Lee style. While waiting, Huang would fall under increasing scrutiny from Jaoming, who pointed out the timing of Huang's arrival coinciding with increasing trouble for Triad businesses from various government agencies, as well as the LCPD. Shin would task Huang with finding and decapitating 2 leaders of the Midtown gangsters as a show of force, who had become increasingly hostile towards the triads in recent weeks, which also further hinted towards their involvement in Jian's theft. Despite carrying out the task for Shin, his suspicions would grow too strong, and Huang would nearly be executed by Jaoming's men before being narrowly saved by his uncle's interference on his behalf.
Shin, I did what you asked. The traitors are dead.
Yet still, the Fed's rat scurries amongst us, Huang. Interesting, isn't it? This harassment started soon after you began working for us. Coincidence is a bitch. Admit your guilt, Huang.
What? No, that's crazy. I just went medieval on some motherfuckers for you. Give me a break.
A liar to the end. And this is the end for you.
Man, that's too cheesy. Can't you give me another deadline?
Wait, Jin, my nephew is innocent.
Innocent? He's been ratting us out since he arrived. I bet he even organized Jian's theft. That sword was to have been mine.
He didn't steal the sword, Jin.
I'll buy you a new fucking sword, old man.
I wanted that one. He must be executed for his crimes.
Wait! Huang will find the sword and the real rat. Just give him time.
Who are you to tell me what to do, Kenny? You've even got a stupid name. Guards!
Please, Jin. Huang is all I have left of my brother.
Very well. But failure to discover the Fed rat and Jian before my patience runs out will be a big fucking mistake, buddy.
Promising that Huang would find and eliminate the true rat quickly and find Jian, Shin would give Huang more time at Kenny's insistence to investigate, starting by having Jaoming family associate Lester LaRock contact Huang in order to receive his assistance in infiltrating the Angels of Death, whom Shin suspected were connected to the informant. Working with LaRock, an overweight, middle-aged sleazeball, Huang would have to pose as the pudgy prospect in training, performing stunts in view of the AOD while wearing Lester's spare jacket and using his bike. Huang would successfully manage to impress the AOD as the faux Lester, keeping his face from being seen for too long during his initiation and killing a large number of AOD's main rivals, the Lost, by destroying the Meadows Park monoglobe, sending it crashing into the ice skating museum in a fiery, explosive demonstration. However, soon after, LaRock would be asked by the AOD to prove he was not in fact a cop by doing an excessive amount of illegal drugs, which debilitates Lester beyond the point of being able to pass the AOD's final initiation test, selling cocaine for the Angels, which Huang was forced to do as well, once again, posing as LaRock. After making it into the club, Lester would soon conclude that the only person capable of revealing any AOD informants would be the girlfriend of chapter president Lester Lee Arnold, Meredith, whom LaRock claimed only high-level members of the gang could even speak to. With more help from Huang in defending a valuable AOD convoy from the attacking Lost, Lester would manage to secure permission to speak with Meredith and somehow seduce her, resulting in the Angels becoming increasingly suspicious of LaRock just as he was getting close to obtaining information on the rat from her. After being caught doing dirty deeds by the Angels, Lester and Meredith would soon be followed by the AOD and would likely have been killed had Huang not stepped in to protect the two from the attacking Angels until Lester could finally extract the information needed from Meredith. Lester would inform Huang that according to Meredith, the rat was most certainly not in the Angels of Death, and offer his assistance to Huang for any future jobs. After parting ways, Huang would again be at the end of another lead, when a stroke of luck seemingly struck from out of the blue, in the form of an email from Italian mafioso Rudy Davanzo, who claimed to have information on the identity of the FIB rat making trouble for the triads. Meeting with Davanzo in a cemetery in Dukes, the mobster of unknown associations would claim to know that the rat selling out the triads was in fact a made man in the Messina crime family, one of the 5 families of the Liberty City La Cosa Nostra. Rudy's rat, Jimmy Capra, he claimed, had started selling out information to the triads since the alliance between the Chinese and Italians had begun, to which Huang demanded evidence. After stealing Capra's car, which Davanzo claimed to have bugged, Rudy would tell Huang that the tape retrieved contained a confession from Capra to being the rat, but he would only show the tape to Huang after he'd eliminated all other informants named by Capra in the tape. Huang would successfully eliminate the men, and soon after, Rudy would claim to have set up peace talks with Capra, where Davanzo would pressure Jimmy using the information he and Huang had obtained. When the peace is short-lived, Huang is forced to defend Davanzo from Capra's men using a sniper rifle, but before they could attempt any further moves against Capra, Huang would be contacted by Xin Yaoming, who revealed that Huang's actions had put the Triad Mafia relations in the toilet by almost killing Capra. Though Huang would initially attempt to convince Shin that Davanzo had information on Capra, and that Capra was indeed the rat, Shin would quickly snap Huang out of his stupor pointing out that Rudy had yet to actually show Huang the supposed tape with evidence of Capra's treachery. Under orders from Shin, Huang would be tasked with finding and killing Davanzo in an effort to smooth over relations with the Italians, and after searching all of Rudy's usual meeting places, he would eventually track down the mobster and stumble onto a private conversation between Davanzo and his assistant. Huang would learn that Rudy had been playing him the entire time, using Huang's considerable talents to make moves against Capra, while having no actual information on any rats inside the Triad organization. Huang would burst in on the lying wise guy, and after a chase across town, he would finally catch and kill Rudy, though this would once again leave him with no leads on the traitor. With time running out for Huang to find the rat and Jian for Xin Yaoming, he would luckily be contacted once again by Wade Heston, whose colleague had finally fulfilled his end of their agreement and revealed the informant's identity. Heston would tell Huang that, much to his own surprise, the FIB document his colleague secured named two separate informants inside the Triad organization, Chan Yaoming and Zhou Ming, both trying to oust the other to secure their position as the next Triad boss. While also surprised by the turn of events, Huang would be prepared to eliminate both men, but Heston, who continued to be suspicious of the findings, would claim that the situation had become too heavy, and that he would instead try to make a deal with internal affairs and scrub himself of the entire situation. Heston would tell Huang to bring the documents to Kenny, who could use them to regain a respectable standing with Shin, and the two reluctant partners would part ways.
You look like someone shat in your bed. What's wrong?
The feds have been speaking to two guys, Chan and Zhou. They've been selling each other, and Shin, to the FIB separately.
Both of them are rats?
It doesn't add up. One of them has to be the Wansu boss. But which one? I don't know.
And one of them may have ordered a hit on my father and stole that fucking sword. So what do? Whack both the sheets? Arrogant shit, then moron shit?
Not me. I'm done. This is too much of a fucking mess. You take the file to your uncle. It's what he needs to get back in with Jian. Me? I'm giving up and getting out before IAD finally nail me. I ain't gonna get that bust. I guess I should start negotiating with internal affairs. Good luck, buddy.
I guess the biopic will have to wait for your ego to return.
Huang would proceed to meet up with his uncle and give him the documents with proof of Chan and Zhao's betrayal, but Kenny would reveal to Huang that Shin had already concluded both Huang and Kenny were involved and had called for their heads. Huang and Kenny would fight their way through Shin's men across town before storming into Yaoming's penthouse to present the documents and clear both of their names. Shamed but convinced, Shin would somewhat reluctantly call for the deaths of both traitors to preserve the Triad's honor, and step down as the head of the Liberty City Triads, passing on the title to Kenny. With Shin and Kenny's blessing, Huang would begin planning to make moves against both the younger Yaoming playboy and the arrogant pseudo-celebrity Ming. Huang would confront Chan in the Broker Navy Yard, and with assistance from one of Kenny's men, whom Huang had personally recruited as a triad not weeks earlier, the two would assault Yaoming's new posse and eventually shoot their way to Chan himself, who proceeded to beg for his life and deny his guilt. Despite Chan's pleas, Huang, likely fed up with the charade of chasing rats all over town, would show no mercy, and in the end, cut down Chan Yaoming himself before moving on to Zhou. When Huang confronted Zhou at his construction site in Castle Garden City, the scenario would play out in a rather similar fashion. After shooting his way through Zhao's men, Huang would confront Ming about his betrayal, but Zhou would adamantly deny being the informant.
You arrogant, treacherous shit.
Why the hell would I betray the Triads? I was going to be the boss.
The FIB file names you and Chan as their contacts.
Bullshit. You're being played, rich kid. Don't make me kill you.
Whatever you say, Zhou.
Zhou would give Huang a chance to back down, but Huang, fully convinced, would refuse, and an even larger battle would ensue. Huang would systematically eliminate every single one of Zhao's guards, all the while contending with Ming's own barrages from his attack helicopter. Using an RPG on sight, Huang would finally shoot down Zhao's helicopter and kill the last remaining traitor informing on the Triads. Or so he thought.
No!
After killing both Zhou and Chan, Huang would be contacted again by Wade Heston with harrowing news. He had discovered the information on the file given to him by his colleague had been faked, and that the real Wansu leader was about to have a meeting with some of his allies. Concluding that the Wansu leader must be the real rat, and the one responsible for killing Huang's father and stealing Jian, Heston and Huang would work together one last time, with Heston claiming he couldn't retire without landing one final bust, insisting that somebody must be arrested when everything was said and done. Heston and Huang would drive to the desalination plant on Charge Island and interrupt the meeting between the Wansu leader and his allies. But what Huang saw both shocked and horrified him. As it turned out, the real informant all along had been Huang's own uncle, Wu Kenny Lee, who had murdered his own brother and attempted to have Huang killed, all in an elaborate effort to become the next triad boss himself. Kenny would attempt to justify his actions to Huang, but after a Mexican standoff following the arrival of the FIB and IAD, Kenny would flee, forcing Huang and Heston to pursue him all the way to Shin's penthouse in Algonquin.
There they are, the assassin's boss and my FIB contact. We've got him at last. Come on.
It looks familiar.
Freeze.
Uncle!
Huang, I can explain. I know it looks bad, but...
Don't even try to lie your way out of this, asshole.
You killed my father. I knew you were a creep, but your own brother?
It was a necessary and honorable sacrifice. I cried for many moons over that one.
Stop it with the funny kung fu dialogue. You low-life piece of shit. Just so you can be leader.
I protected you throughout all of this. You should be thanking me. I understand these events are complicated for the mind of one so young, but I forgive you.
Shut up, you pompous, porn-loving jerk.
You're under arrest, you son of a bitch.
I think not. Guards!
IAD, nobody move! Put your weapons down, Officer Heston. We're taking you in.
Hands in the air! All of you assholes are under arrest.
With Huang not far behind, Kenny would arrive at Shin's with Jian in hand, and finally deliver the sword to Jaoming by plunging it into his stomach, as Kenny revealed that Shin had ordered its theft in the first place. Kenny would attempt to blame his decisions on Shin, claiming that Shin wanted the sword, and that Kenny could see no other way to obtain it than to inherit it by killing his brother. Huang and Heston would arrive on scene for a final confrontation with Kenny, who, despite continuing to justify his selfish actions, accepted Huang's need to eliminate him to preserve his honor, and stood his ground in one last battle.
Shin, this is your fault. Huang is going to kill me, but I'll make sure you die first, you old lizard.
Kill him, Huang! He murdered your father!
It was your test of loyalty. You ordered me to take the sword, knowing my brother would have to die for me to claim it. If I'd refused, it would have been over for me.
Had you just brought me the sword, you would have become the next triad boss.
From behind the figurehead of your idiot son. Have him take credit for my leadership? Never!
You had the sword stolen from Huang so you wouldn't have to accept the fate I allotted you. Then you bleated to the feds and had Shan and Zhou blamed so no one stood in your path to succeed me. You deceitful criminal! And your dialogue is weak and uninspiring.
Still want my brother's sword. Jin, here, take it.
Where's your noble honor now, uncle?
I'm sorry, Huang. You were never supposed to find out. Please understand. I had no choice. I'm a good man, put in a difficult situation by a cruel fate.
Choice? I swore on my father's grave I will kill the man responsible for his death. Do I have a choice now?
No. You should honor your father's memory. And by the way, your father was a real jerk as a brother. I'm glad I killed him.
He's mad. He means to kill us all. Save me, Huang! Let us grieve together for those we have lost, Huang. The Triads need a leader. It could be you. If you are truly loyal. Perhaps a little test.
Police! Freeze! You're all under arrest.
This is my collar. This is my bust.
FIB, nobody move! Freeze!
Throw your weapons down.
I'm Detective Wade Heston, LCPD undercover. This is my bust. Shut the fuck up and relax. Everybody. Jaoming, you're under arrest for... Well, I guess I'll think of something really heavy on the way to the station. Take him away.
Yes, sir.
Hell, you might as well take in everyone in this place. Yeah, except Huang. He's a good kid. For a rich snot.
When the dust had settled, Huang Lee stood victorious, having killed his own uncle to avenge his father. Jaoming, badly injured by Kenny but still alive, would offer Huang the possibility of becoming the next triad boss himself, but if Huang had an immediate answer, it could not be obtained by our investigators. Following the violence, numerous agencies, including the FIB and the LCPD, would descend on Shin's penthouse, and Heston would finally get his big bust, arresting Jaoming and closing a violent, bloody chapter on the never-ending wars of Liberty City's Chinatown.
Sometime after the death of Kenny, Huang would also briefly work with brother to Ling Shan, Xin, who at the age of 19 was already making moves as a Liberty City triad. Xin would recruit Huang to assist him in a job which he claimed was worth a fortune, by having Huang steal a rhino tank and cause chaos around Broker and Dukes in order to keep any heat off of Xin. Though Huang would manage to distract the LCPD long enough for Xin to pull off his score, Xin would be badly injured during the mission, and despite attempting to save him by evading the police and delivering the younger Shan sibling to an alleyway in Cerveza Heights, it is believed that Xin Shan bled to death in that alleyway, the very same one where his sister died just weeks prior.
Huang Lee is, in his own words, a pampered little snot, due in large part to his luxurious upbringing in the wealthier parts of Hong Kong. While little is known about Huang's activity overseas, his most active time in America during the events described tonight were marked by a constant sense of superiority. When dealing with drug dealers, corrupt police officers, other triads, and often even his own uncle, before he learned of his betrayal, Huang was exceedingly sarcastic and dismissive. Unlike his old-school uncle, Huang had little to no respect for the ideals of the older generation, rejecting the concepts of honor and tradition, and instead pursuing his father's murderer out of a raw desire for revenge, rather than dignity. While he was insulting and brashly callous towards almost all who employed him, Huang showed a certain amount of loyalty, even for those he had little respect for, including his own uncle, as well as Jaoming and Shan, only killing them when he truly believed them to have betrayed the triads. He would take on any work from his employers with little to no questioning, preferring instead to express his disdain in the form of mockery, which many around him likely dismissed as a quirk of his lavish upbringing. The most important thing to Huang Lee appears to be family, given the lengths he went to in order to avenge his father, and given the fact that one of the few people Huang ever showed a modicum of respect for was his Uncle Kenny, even if in the end he was the one who killed the fratricidal turncoat.
Huang has no objections to selling massive quantities of drugs, decapitating rival gang members, or killing dozens of police officers, all the while acting like the sole bastion of truth and dignity in a life mired by the constant presence of liars, killers, and other degenerates, despite having a considerable death toll of his own.
Huang Lee is an Asian man born in 1983 in Hong Kong, China. He has a lighter-than-average skin tone, short brown hair, and very subtle facial hair, as a staple during his time in Liberty City circa 2009, when Lee would have been 26. Huang was rarely seen by anyone with any expression other than that of bored indifference and contempt for the people around him, only ever becoming emotional on very rare occasions.
His most common attire was a green overcoat on top of a red button-up t-shirt, worn over another plain white tee, blue jeans, and a pair of green and white high-top sneakers, or occasionally brown boots.
Once again, this program was unable to obtain any criminal records on Huang Lee from his time in China. However, we were able to obtain a full record from the fine men and women of the LCPD with details of all known crimes committed by Lee during his saunter through Liberty City in 2009 and beyond. With the determination of a man driven by nothing but revenge and apathy for the lives of his fellow triads,
Huang Lee would rack up a record and body count comparable to numbers typically dished out by an entire organization over long periods of time, all by himself,
allowing him to stand tall amongst the fellow murderers and criminal sociopaths occupying the hallowed halls of Liberty City's gambling dens, backroom deals, and international drug smuggling operations. All of this being said, let's see how his tallies stack up to his contemporaries already examined on this program. Helping Ling Shan escape from the LCPD.
Killing the Spanish lords attacking one of Wu Li's restaurants.
Killing several Spanish lords in retaliation for Ling's death. Stealing 3 cars for Jaoming.
Engaging in numerous drug deals.
Sabotaging a racer's car. The burning of 2 stores protected by the Spanish lords. Killing several hostile gang members in order to save potential new triads. Attacking 3 drivers during a race to ensure Jaoming's victory. Infiltrating a compound, killing the guards, and stealing Melanie Mallard's TV van back for her and Shan. Killing numerous Yardies to protect Jan's drug shipment and Melanie. Breaking into a Yardie drug factory, killing all the guards, and destroying their drug supply while being filmed by Melanie. Giving free drugs to several dealers while being filmed by Melanie. Infiltrating the Channel 15 studio, killing the guards and Melanie's cameraman, and kidnapping Melanie for Chan to kill her. sneaking onto the back of a delivery truck and helping Jaoming steal its merchandise, killing several hostile gang members in order to save Shan,
kidnapping a patient under the protection of the LCPD and delivering him to Zhou, who kills him,
killing several triads in order to disarm 3 car bombs and to prevent them from planting any further bombs, stealing a van from the Spanish lords, killing numerous Spanish lords attacking one of Kenny's stores, helping Jaoming slaughter numerous drug dealers by delivering them to their locations, killing numerous Spanish lords who ambushed him and Shan Jaoming during a drug deal, stealing a Korean gang leader's car and using it to frame him by assaulting several LCPD officers, killing the Korean gang leader and all his underbosses, destroying a gambling den using a leaking tanker, killing numerous Spanish lords attacking Wu Li's warehouse, infiltrating the Spanish lord's warehouse, killing the guards and stealing a van, killing numerous Korean gang members as a distraction for Wade Heston to plant a bug in their hideout, killing the Wonsun Dong lieutenant and all his men who ambushed Wade Heston's squad, infiltrating a construction site, killing the guards, and destroying all the merchandise using a flamethrower, stealing a truck with a dragon costume and using it as a disguise to help Jaoming and his men escape from the LCPD unnoticed, killing the Spanish lords attacking Shan Yaoming's boat, saving Shin Yaoming's men from the LCPD, assassinating an FIB informant with evidence against Chan, destroying Chan's goods to prevent the FIB from confiscating them, killing Chan's entourage using Molotov cocktails under the suspicion of them all being rats, killing several paparazzi who photographed Jaoming, engaging in a chase with a drug dealer to a warehouse and destroying said warehouse with a car bomb, destroying Jaoming's drug ship and killing everyone who attempts to flee, recovering Zhao's illegal goods from the sunken ship, killing 2 traitorous Korean gang members and their guards and stealing their IDs, killing several Lost MC bikers and using the Monoglobe in Meadows Park to destroy the building where the Lost hang out, killing Jimmy Capra's men who ambush him and Rudy Davanzo, selling numerous drugs for the Angels of Death, infiltrating the Koreans' hideout, killing the guards, and helping Shin Spen steal their safe, which presumably contains FIB files, destroying 3 FIB scramblers and killing the FIB agents guarding them, stealing Jim and Capra's car for Wade Heston, killing a Korean arms dealer and his guards, the destruction of the Koreans' hideout, killing several Lost MC bikers attacking an Angel of Death convoy, killing 3 of Jimmy Capra's associates, stealing Wade Heston's car back from the IAD and destroying the evidence inside, killing Jimmy Capra's men who ambushed Rudy Davanzo with a sniper rifle, killing Rudy Davanzo in retaliation for his betrayal, killing the Angels of Death who attempt to disturb Lester LaRocque and Meredith, hacking into an FIB server to retrieve information about the informant who betrayed the Triads, killing numerous Triads who attempt to kill him and Wu Li, killing Shan Yaoming and his guards for supposedly betraying the Triads and being an FIB informant, killing Jaoming and his guards for supposedly betraying the Triads and being an FIB informant, killing numerous Wonsun Dong members, LCPD officers, and IAD and FIB agents in order to escape from an ambush alongside Wade Heston, and chasing and killing Wu Li for betraying the Triads and being responsible for the theft of the Jian sword, and his father's death.
Stealing a tank and using it to cause mayhem in the streets as a distraction for the supposed bank robbery orchestrated by Xin Shan, helping a fatally injured Xin Shan escape from the LCPD.
In presumably less than a year's time, Huang Lee would manage to kill nearly 600 people in Liberty City alone, proving that this snotty silver spoon-raised kid from Hong Kong packed just as much of a punch as any of our other previous subjects on GTA biographies. Perhaps one of the most prolific small-scale drug dealers we've yet seen on this show, as well as being the only known person to outright decapitate an enemy during his criminal exploits that we've seen, Huang Lee is a terrifying and apathetic killer. While we were unable to confirm if indeed Huang Lee took on the role of Triad Boss following the arrest of Shin Yaoming and the death of his uncle, it can safely be assumed that if he did, the numbers given today would almost assuredly be completely out of date. If you ran afoul of the Triads of Liberty City anytime post-2009, you likely aren't alive to inform on the matter. America is a dangerous place, folks, and its allure to criminals across the globe knows seemingly no bounds. You may never know if that fresh cut you purchased at your local market was in fact already stained by the blood of organized crime long before the butcher's cleaver even made the first cut. Stay indoors, people. The next mastermind of public destruction could be any one of you, so save us all the trouble and just say no. I'll see you next time on another exciting edition of Grand Theft Auto Biographies, where we will examine the first of another trio of criminals inextricably linked together by crime and circumstances. Until next time, I'm your host, Guinness Walker. Thank you for watching.